Hey, what's going on, guys? TheHORRORman back putting a positive spin on the SUSPIRIA remake. We started off this week with SUSPIRIA, when Jason and I discussed the original film during Bravo's Scariest Movie Moments Challenge. And now we're ending the week with SUSPIRIA, the remake, for positive spin. I need to put a bit of a disclaimer on this one. This 2018 SUSPIRIA remake has a 6.7 out of 10 rating on IMDb. That's actually pretty high. Not only for the horror genre in general, but particularly for a modern-day horror remake. Despite that high score, though, Jason and I absolutely feel that this deserved a positive spin. This SUSPIRIA remake was an Amazon original film, and when it first premiered in 2018, everyone seemed to hate it. In fact, all of that negative word of mouth kept both Jason and me from picking up this Blu-ray when it was released. We heard it was long, which it is. We heard it was boring, which it's not. We heard it was different from the original, and yes, it should be. But most of all, we just heard it was bad. That couldn't be further from the truth, and I think that 6.7 rating confirms that. More on that in just a minute, though. I kept seeing this Blu-ray at local stores, and I'd pick it up, look at it, and then put it back on the shelf. I was curious about it, there's no denying that, because I love the original. But did I really want to spend the money and all of that time watching something that was supposedly so bad? That's where the hesitance came in for me. It wasn't just what people were saying about it. It's the fact that it's also a long movie with an approximate runtime of 2 hours and 33 minutes. Had it been an average 90-minute film, I would have given it a shot right away. Worst case scenario, I'd only waste an hour and a half of my time. And yeah, I'd spend the money on it, but it would be another horror remake in my collection. Nothing wrong with that. But with the price, which was never really all that cheap with this Blu-ray, and that extended runtime, I decided to hold off. Then, Jason came to visit, and we went out movie hunting together. Once again, I held the Blu-ray in my hand and almost bought it that day. It was Jason who kind of talked me out of it. He reminded me of all the negative reviews and the runtime. So, I put it back again. And guess what? Jason bought it. I know that sounds like he talked me out of getting it so he could, but that wasn't the case at all. He was dead set against getting it himself, and we looked around the store a bit, picked up a few other things, and then it was almost like a last-minute decision. He picked up the Blu-ray with some resistance, and, well, the rest is history. Because if he hadn't bought it that day, and watched it, and told me about it, I probably would have never gotten it myself. It's a good thing we both ended up with it in our collections, because this Blu-ray is now out of print and expensive online. Yes, even more expensive than the original price. Apparently, since it was an Amazon original, it was always meant to be a limited release on physical media. Now, getting back to what I started earlier, it seemed like everyone was talking about how awful this remake was. But then you look at the IMDb rating, and it certainly doesn't reflect those negative opinions. This SUSPIRIA remake is the perfect example to prove negative people whine the loudest and most frequently. What seemed to be the majority opinion was not that at all. More people like this than hate it. And it's not really all that close either. For example, take a movie like Halloween Ends, that obviously received a lot of hate. Even still, it has a 5.0 rating on IMDb, so it's split right down the middle. It's technically more divisive than it is hated. That's basically half the audience rating it a 10, and half the audience rating it a 1. Half of the viewers loved it, half of the viewers hated it. Now look at Suspiria with its 6.7 out of 10. Like I said earlier, that's high for horror, especially a modern horror remake. So if IMDb ratings trend on the lower end, and Suspiria has that high of a score, how bad can it actually be? Yup, the negative people whine the loudest. It's like they say, misery loves company. Jason and I actually get mad at ourselves sometimes for listening to the crowd. Time and time again, we're duped by people complaining about movies. It's hard not to be influenced by negative reviews. They turn you off to seeing certain films, which is exactly why we started this Positive Spin series in the first place, to combat that negativity. Even the two of us, who pride ourselves in finding positives in films, are influenced by negative reviews. If it's happening to us, I can assure you it's happening to a lot of people. A lot of these universally hated movies may not be so hated after all. Why do so many of us allow negativity to overpower positivity? Suspiria is not nearly as hated as some would lead you to believe. Now, with all that being said, I am going to go through some of my positives because this is a positive spin. However, I don't want to come across as if I'm telling you something you already know or already feel. I'm not telling you to try the cake while you're already eating your second piece. If you already enjoy this Suspiria remake, that's awesome. But I want to say what I like about it for those of you who maybe haven't seen it and have been influenced by all of the negative reviews. My first positive is the cast. We have Dakota Johnson, Tilda Swinton, who's fantastic in this, Mia Goth, I know she currently has a lot of fans, and Chloe Grace Moretz. I've always liked Chloe. I'm sort of indifferent to Dakota. But truthfully, I've never been a big fan of Tilda or Mia. That's significant though, because I think they're all great in Suspiria. Even Jessica Harper from the original Suspiria has a role, and I thought that was awesome. The location, the scenery, the visuals in general, all positives. This movie was masterfully constructed. Jason and I actually watched this together twice. Once a while back, and a second time in preparation for these videos. This time he used a great word to describe it while we were watching. He said it's a very striking film. And it is. I love the bleakness of this remake. The absence of primary colors, in contrast to the original film, which was vividly colorful. There are some brilliant camera shots in the movie, unique angles and descending tracking shots. The score in Suspiria was the debut score from Radiohead lead singer Tom York. I thought that was really cool, and it's a great score. I like that this remake stays true to the foundation of the original, but still does its own thing. Ironically, I think that's a reason why some people who do actually hate it. Some have said it's too different, and again, I disagree. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but it shouldn't be. If it were, people would say they hate it because of that. Splitting the film into multiple acts was not only fitting, but it definitely helped that 2-hour and 33-minute runtime. It flows really well and does not feel as long as it is. That gruesome dance sequence early in the film is definitely a positive. It looks so painful. The twisted and distorted body and the aftermath of it all. Oof. It looks like someone gave her the middle finger and she tried to honor the request. There is lots of creepy stuff sprinkled throughout Suspiria. I'm talking genuine nightmare fuel, including scary sightings and creepy chantings. The movie is super atmospheric, especially when it's snowing. There is plenty of nudity in Suspiria, including full frontal, of both the good and disturbing variety. The makeup effects were really well done. The climax of the film is truly a spectacle. It's like horror art, and it's museum-worthy. Ironically, someone in that scene specifically says it's not art. So go figure. The reveal is incredible, and the entire third act is mesmerizing. All that naked dancing, the song, the gratuitous gore, and it has a hell of a twist, too. Suspiria 2018 just might be a modern horror masterpiece, and I know Jason believes so as well. This was originally supposed to be the first film in a trilogy, but guess what? All of that negative publicity from the whiners and complainers prevented that from happening. What is there to gain from negativity? Fewer movies. As horror fans and fans of cinema in general, why would you want that outcome? Here's a movie the majority really loved, yet the haters couldn't shut up. What a shame. We must do better as a society. I love the original. I love this remake. I highly recommend Suspiria. Pay no mind to the negative reviews, guys. People seem to hate everything. Instead, give it a chance and decide for yourselves. That's what Jason and I did. This may honestly be one of the greatest horror remakes of all time. But you don't have to agree. This is just my positive spin. Please be sure to check out Jason's as well to hear his thoughts. Have you seen Suspiria 2018? If so, what do you think of it? Comment below and let me know. To which hated movie will we next give a positive spin? Check back soon to find out. Until then, remember, physical media matters. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and, be kind, subscribe.